Ada clash with other tests? Tak ada kan? So far okay ke kelas? Okay, number 2, all of you have registered your group project title? Dah? Dah register belum? Dah. And then please be reminded that you need to submit a storyboard for your group project. The deadline will be on 26. So what are you going to submit is basically a storyboard that contains the HTML files. So why I ask you to do the HTML files? Because at least you have the front end ready. So later you just need to add on the GSP and it will redirect the servlet or Java bean. Okay, so please prepare your storyboard in HTML files to show the flow or structure of the web application. So basically, I want to see the flow and the structure, meaning that you have a main page or you have a login and then you have main page. After main page, what's next? Okay, the application allow you to create something, edit something, or delete something. Okay, so please prepare the HTML files. And then you need to have a database URD that have at least 4 tables. So design the URD in a Word and convert it to PDF. So please submit this all in a folder and save it. I will create the submission later. Any question regarding storyboard? Okay.
Itulah, terus HTML file tu memang front end semua je lah.
Yeah, front end tu tak perlulah complete. Later maybe you nak change, you can boleh je. I just want to know the flow. Front end tu HTML lepas tu flow je. Kalau you buat blank kan, you tak letak header kita, that's fine. Saya nak tengok flow saja.
Alright, faham lah tu, thank you.
Okay, so the marks will be given 10% for your storyboard ni. So I will look into the flow, the structure of your web application. Okay, if no question, then let's recap back GSP. I think last week I already gave the same video for this week, so that's fine. So today we're going to recap back about GSP predefined files, variables, and GSP directive, and also GSTL tag. Okay, GSTL is still GSP, but much more simpler than GSP. Okay, let's look at predefined variables. So in GSP, you have about eight predefined variables. So start with request, response, and then you have out. I think we have practiced it, right? Whenever that you write, you create a variable string name equal to request.get parameter. So you are actually using the request predefined variable. Same goes with response. Whenever that you have response.getWriter, you are actually using the response predefined variables in GSP. Same goes with out. If you use out.println, so out is actually the predefined variables in GSP. And the rest, you have session, you have application, config, page context, and page. Let's look in detail what is it. So basically request, normally you want to access the value, to present the client request, which is an instance of the HTTP servlet request. Okay, so this is the HTTP servlet request. So you can use it to access the request parameters and also HTTP headers. So normally we use request dot get parameter request dot. Okay, so there's a method that being supported in HTTP servlet request class. Okay? For response is also an instance of HTTP servlet response. So there are various methods that can be used with response. So we'll have response as a variable dot, and then we have get writer or get something. So it will represent the servlet response. And normally this one is to send output to the client. Printing lah. You want to use it for displaying, displaying the output to the browser. Okay. Out is another one which is represent the character output stream. So normally we use this for out.print line, right? And then this is actually an instance of print method. And normally you got this up from response.getWriter. So this is basically to display. You have to display the character content to the browser. Next, we have session. Session will represent the HTTP session object that is associated with the request, meaning that when you create a session for, let's say, for your web application, for the login part, yeah, so you have a form, submit the form, and then you will submit to a login servlet. This login servlet, you need to have this session, yeah, the HTTP session object. So you will create a HTTP session equal to new HTTP session. So this is actually we're using the session predefined variable, whereby using the request to get the session variable. Okay, so let's look at another one, application. So application represents the servlet context object for storing the persistent data. So application is to share all the variables that being declared in one web application. So the difference between session and application, that session is tied to the client. Yeah? Client mean that user yang log in to the web application. Whereas for application is for all the users that access the web application. For example, let's say you create time. Yeah? You want to count on time. How long does the user sorry. Let's say you create a clock, a time. Okay, you want to show the time in the application. So you need to use this application predefined variable in order all users that are accessing the web application to get the same time. Yeah. Let's say you want the user to look to have the time at for example 10:30 a.m. this morning. So you need to declare application variable using the servlet context. So everyone that accessing will have the same time regardless kalau you punya laptop, you set the time will be different, kan? So that is for application. So for all application, yeah? For all client that's accessing the application. Okay, the next predefined variable is config. So this to represent the servlet configuration object for the particular page. Yeah? So you may use this one as well. If you have few variables that you want it to represent the servlet configuration. Okay, you have page context next, which is represent the page context. So this is to give access to page attribute. So this is also required if you want to represent page attributes. So the page attributes will remain alive during the page itself, not the whole application. If you want a variable to be alive the whole application, so you need to have the application predefined variable, not the page context. Next is page. So page is normally we use to alternative to this meaning that for that particular page, you are referring to the particular page if you use this page predefined variable. So these are all the 8 predefined variables in GSP that you can use when writing the coding GSP for your web application. Let's look at example. Okay, this is example of request. Yeah, let's say I want to have HTML page that prompt the user to enter the loan amount, annual interest rate, and number of years. Okay, so this is the front end, the UI. Yeah, this is the code for displaying the UI. Yeah. So you can see this form will be submitted to compute loan.tsp. So these all are HTML. You have form, and then you will submit a text field with a name, loan amount, annual interest rate, number of years. That's it. So there are 3 text fields that will be submitted to the compute loan.tsp. So let's look at compute loan.tsp. Okay, for compute loan.tsp, you will declare a variable named double loan amount. And then because of the value is in double, so you need to use double.parseDouble. Everything in the HTML will be accepted as string. So when you want to use double integer, so you need to call the double.parseDouble or integer.parseInteger, because everything is accepted as a string. Okay, so now you can see that we are using request predefined variable here to get a value loan amount from the HTML form. Same goes here. So this is also the request.get parameter to get the annual interest rate field. And then this is for number of years. I'm using integer here, so that's why I'm passing the integer.parseInt. Okay, so not double like this one. This one, because I'm using this one, double. All right, so the rest are basically printing out using the expression, printing out the value for loan amount, annual interest rate, and also number of years. All right. Any questions so far? Yeah. Predefined variable. The example of request. We have practiced it in our lab. We're using request.get parameter already. Okay, let's look another one. Session. We're using session. Predefined variable session. Okay, let's say we create. Let's say we create get session creation time. So this is I'm creating date create time, new date, session.get creation time. So I want to get the current time. And then this is the last access time, which is for the last access time, meaning that when you go back to that particular page. Right. Next, so I'm creating a string here for the title and counting the visitor, the visit. I want to have counting of the visit count. How many times that the same people, the same session accessing the same page. Okay, so if there are a new user to your web page, and then it will go into this if session is new, and then it will set the attribute. Okay, and then so it will print out like this. So this is the front end to print out the value for that particular session. So I'm using out here. Out is another predefined variable. Instead of session, we're using out.print. Okay, I'm getting the session ID by using the session predefined variable. So this is the value for the session. If you look at it, they're in characters. Okay, so it's a mix of characters, combination of characters. And then this one, creation of the time and time of the last access. And then I'm printing out the user ID and the counter. The total number of the visits. So this is an example for you to check the same user coming into the web page, how many times. So accessing the web page. Any question? Yeah.
Boleh, Doktor.
Right. Let's move on to another example, which is application. So remember just now I mentioned application will actually checking on the application itself, not per session. Per session is per user. Like this one is per user. So you are counting the visit of a same user. But this one is for application. So how it works? Okay. So let's create one hit count, and then setting it into application.getAttribute. I'm using a hit counter, and then I will count, and then if the first visit, so I will show welcome to my website, first visit. And then if more than one visit, meaning that the hits count the same particular user, so it will show welcome back to my website. So I'm setting it to be application.setAttribute, hit counter, hits count. So this is the total number of visits. So this is the one that been printed on the browser. So this is the third time for that particular user with the same session. So this is how you use application as a whole. All right, so that is the 8 predefined variable in JSP. Now let's move on to the directive. We have about 3 directives: page, include, and also let's look at the directive. So page, for JSP directive, we have page, include, and tag. So for page, normally you will provide information for that particular page, such as you want to import class, and then you want to set up the language of the page, or you want to set up the content type. So normally we will put it on top of the JSP page. Same goes with include. Include is like you want to insert a file into the servlet or into the JSP when the page is translated to a servlet. So the include must be placed where you want the file to be inserted. So let's say you want to include header or you want to include footer. You can do that with the include JSP directive. You just have to create the tag, you just put a tag and then include the file. Okay, tag lib here lets you define the custom tags. Custom tags meaning that we will look into detail later, the tag lib. So it have a specific tag for GDSTL for the tag lib. Okay, let's look for the page directive first. So this is how you use page directive. So normally we have import. Why? Because let's say I want to use scanner or I want to use out. So I need to import java.util.star because the library or the APIs reside in the util collection of the Java. So this is how you do import. And then if you want to import more packages, you put a comma, and then you have java.text.star. So this is to represent 2 packages being imported into a file. Okay, that is import. And then next you have content type. So you can specify the content type. Let's say you want it to be text HTML or you want it to be text plain. Okay, you can use page content type equal value. Session. Okay, for session also you can set to the default one. By default, the session is always true, but you also can specify a Boolean value to indicate whether the page is part of the session. So you can use page session equal to what? Is it false? So normally we will use the Boolean value. So this is for page directive. Let's look example. So for page import, this is how you do it. And so this is a page name compute_loan.jsp. And then this is how you import a class. And you have alias, page import, and this is the package number. This is package. Chapter 40, loan is the class. Then you declare the JSP. So this is all the variable. Okay, create a variable loan amount and use the predefined variable request to get the value loan amount, annual interest rate, number of years from the HTML. Here down here, you are actually displaying the value, loan amount, annual interest rate, number of years, and then this is you are using an object. Create an object and create the loan. Use the loan, call the method monthly payment. So monthly payment and total payment is actually from the loan class. So that's why you import this loan in package chapter 40. because you want to call the monthly payment and total payment. Okay, so this is how you do it for importing a class that are required to run in a GSP. Okay, let's look at the tag lib. So in tag lib, you have about five categories of tags. So you have the core tags, then you have the formatting, SQL, XML, and GSTL. So let's look at the core. Core is basically the one that we always use. We call it as core GSTL tags. So for example, you want to display, normally you use out.println or you use expression equal. Kan out.println normally kalau servlet, before servlet, right? But for this, for JSP, normal JSP is equal. Again, expression is this one. But then you can also use cout instead of this expression. Next, you have cset. Cset is to set the result of expression variation in scope. So this is also another tag to represent this. And then you have remove, catch, if, choose, when, otherwise, import, for each, and others. So these all are JSL tag that may replace the scriptlet, declaration, and also expression. So when we learned last week, we learned about the traditional GSP. But this one is using the tags. This is what we call GSTL tags. Next, in GSTL, you have also formatting, whereby you want to format. You want to format the number, format the date, again, and then format the time. So you can use this tag for you to write the code. Rather than you do expression, you need to create a method to show. So GSTL tag make it easier because they already have the specific tag for displaying the result. This is for formatting GSTL tags. But for all these tags, you need to include this. You need to have this on top of your GSP file. Maybe first or second line. So this is going to be the reference for this GSTL when it be called throughout the page. So you need to include tag lib prefix C for core. And then for formatting, you need to include tag lib prefix FMT. And then for SQL, okay, we do have exercise on this later in the lab exercise. And so you need to have to include this tag lib prefix SQL in order for you to run the SQL query, SQL update. So this GSTL tag will be much more simple for you to execute the SQL. And also you have XML tags. Okay, XML tags is very rare we're using it, but there is the library that being supported. So the prefix is X, so this is for the XML tags. So this is for all the XML tags. Let's say you want to display the result on the browser, you use the XOut, and then you use XSet to set a variable to the value. And you also have if, for each, choose. So these are all the syntax, the GSTL tags that you can use to represent the code, other than the traditional Java code. And also you have functions in GSTL. So the prefix is fn. So it's actually from the functions category. So you can use, let's say you want to find length, return the number of items in a collection or the number of characters in a string. So you can use fn, double dot, and then you have the length. All right. For the class GSTL, all this. So this is basically can replace the normal GSP, the one that we have learned. Kita dah belajar what expression, scriptlet, and the declaration, right? So if you want to use the one that we have learned, the 3 types, yeah, the declaration, expression, and also scriptlet, you can use that, or you can also use GSTL. So it's actually GSTL is just like evolution of the GSP because you're using the prefix and also you are using the tag in order for you to do the GSP code. Yeah? So both are actually same. It's just that the way the code is different, and then you can replace whatever that we expression with the GSTL tag. Yeah? Right? Boleh kelas? Okay, let's look at example. Let's say we want to count to 10 using the scriptlet. Okay, because last week we have learned about scriptlet, right? So we want to use this code here to count to 10. So you have start tag of the scriptlet, and then you have the for loop. This is normal Java code. Okay, integer I equal to I less equal to 10, I plus plus. Then you have close a curly, okay, close curly bracket, open curly bracket, and the close tag of JSP. Next, you want to display the value of I. You use expression, okay, and then you have a break, and then next is the close curly bracket in the JSP tag. So this is the regular scriptlet-based JSP. So next, let's look at GSTL. So in GSTL, first you need to have this static. Yeah? So you need to have the syntax of alias, static URI, and specify what are the category of the STL that you're going to use. So in this case, I'm using core, and then the prefix is C. And then next, in the body tag, so if you notice, we do not have the start tag of GSP. We just directly have the C. The C for each var equal to I, begin equal to 1, end equal to 10, and step equal to 1. And then I want to print out. So I'm using the C out to print out the value of I. And then I have a break. And then this is the close for the for each loop. Okay. Which one are simple? One class? This one or this one? Scriptlet base or GSTL?
I think scripted base is more simple
Scriptlet base is more simple. Why?
because the coding is more, it feels more Java, for me at least.
Because you're already familiar with Java, right? This one also Java, but it's JSTL. JSTL is Java Server Technique. JSTL stands for Java Server Technique. So still Java, but then it requires tag. So you need to have the tag prefix C. Yeah. So it is also Java. It's just that it simplifies from the scriptlet base. But then if you are familiar with Java, you can use the scriptlet based JSP. So for your web, you can use also JSTL if you wish. And also for your project, you also can use JSTL if you think that it's much more simple. In terms of lines of codes, let's say this one, you have about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of codes. But this one you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So JSTL much more less, right? So for a programmer, writing a less code is the best. Yeah. So it's up to you guys, basically. Yeah. You can choose script like base or GSTL. Okay. All right. Any question? Okay, no question. Let's go to the tutorial question for this week. All right, question number 1, GSP directive and also attributes for the page. Just now I have shown the directive, right? The one that we have page, request, respond, out. Okay, so what is CSP directive for page? Come on, what it does? CSP directive for the page. Anyone? Oh, I call out names. Or in the chat. What is page directive class? Mama Ilham? What is CSP directive for the page? Mama Ilham? Ada ke tak ada? Muhammad Umar?
Yes, doctor.
So what do you think?
I think GSP page is to handle the structure of the page.
Handle what is that?
Handle the JSP provide a instruction to the JSP container how the process to the page.
It's
Then,
directive.
so dia punya attribute commonly like import package tadi dengan context tag session. Kita takut tak?
Okay, CSP directive and attributes, yeah. Directive for page, yeah. Normally the attributes is import, correct? And then you have page, yeah. Normally it's for the particular page lah. Let's say in the page you want to include some, or you want to use out object. So you need to import java.util.star. Yeah? And then the attribute for page, normally if you want to set the language for that particular page, so you have to have alias page equal to English, something like that. Yeah, language equal to English. So that is for JSP directive and attributes for the page directive. Thank you, Uma. All right, number 2. Oh yeah, sekejap eh. Wait 5 minutes. Sorry. Oh, all right. Number 2, if a class does not have a package statement, can you import it? Nak buat tak dalam NetBeans? If a class does not have a package statement, can you import it?
Yes.
Okay, you can import it, but you still need to be careful. Meaning that dia akan jadi dalam default package. Itu dalam default package. Contoh, ada default package macam ni kan. You still can import all this. But then if you have another com.zip, let's say, and then you put it inside, and then you need to make sure the page that imported to have the package here rather than default package. So there is a pro and cons lah. If you do not have a package statement, you still can import it. So the code for that is only for default package lah. Okay, number 3. If you use a custom class from a JSP, where should the class be placed? Anyone? Don't have the answer? Where should the class be placed? So the custom class is here. And this is the custom class. So where should it be placed? So you should use the page import. Basically to use the class. So the class must be placed in a package at chapter 40 of this. So the answer is where does it must be placed? So it must be placed in a package. Boleh? Custom class. Soalan tu, you nak tanya kat mana you nak letak the class tu. Because you nak guna tu dalam JSP. So JSP tak tahu default package. Okay. So you need to put it in the package. Boleh? Alright, let's move on to number 4. Okay, let's look at this code. Line first one. Your idea, integer k. Is it an instance variable or local variable?
Instead variable.
Why instance variable?
Sebab kita pas the declaration one.
Sebab dia guna declaration. Yeah. So K and I is a instance variables. What about J? Come on, we learned this one last week, kan? To differentiate instant variables and local variables. So J, is it still instant variables? Local variables. All right. How about this one? Private long get time. It's a method declaration, right? And then you declare time. Time there, is it a local variable or instance variable? Instance variable, right? So you got it, to differentiate between instant variables and local variables. The way you declare it in the GSP. If you're using the declaration, which means it's an instance variable. But if you use a scriptlet base, so this is a local variable. And okay, how about this? What is wrong with below code? Come on. What's wrong? Wrong class? What's wrong with this?
The request is the local variable.
Sorry? Say it again.
Request to a local variable.
Local variable.
Yeah.
No. It's not the answer. Anyone else want to try? Madiha ada Madiha. Madiha? Ada? Mariha, are you there? Need to use scriptlet? Cuba tengok betul-betul syntax dia. Dia pakai apa kat depan ni? Declaration kan? So if you use declaration, you cannot have requests .get parameter. That is wrong. So in order for you to fix this, you need to remove the declaration syntax and then replace it with scriptlet only. So when the question is like this, then you need to answer request predefined variable cannot be used in declaration syntax. Boleh? Boleh kelas?
Boleh.
Faham So tadi kita dah belajar kan predefined variables. So you need to make sure predefined variable tu how you going to do it or write it in the JSP. Make sure it will be used in specific one. Kalau scriptlet, no need. You can only use request, response, out. Whereas kalau you ada declaration, it's only for declaration of methods. Alright, number 6. This question asks you again. Can you use predefined variable request response in JSP declaration? Can or not?
Cannot.
No. So please write an example code for request and response on the chat. How to use response, how to use request, how to use out. Or request and response. Come on, there are a lot of examples being given, right? Ashraf ada Ashraf. Boleh tulis example dekat chat. Okay, Ashraf dah buat. String user equal to request get parameter user. Okay, that's right. So for response, anyone? All right. This one is request get parameter, right? That's good. How about response? Anyone? Response.set content type text HTML. Okay, so this is how you use the response predefined variable. So set content type, normally we not set content type of that particular JSP page. Yeah? So that JSP page will only display text and HTML. So that's how you do it for response. Right? Okay, class. Any question regarding this week? Lecture, GSP directive, GSTL text, or anything regarding your project ke? Ada? Okay ke?
Doktor nak tanya.
Hmm.
Doktor ada contoh for pasir punya test 1 tak? Untuk preparation untuk test Sabtu ni.
Satu ni satu Satu ni tau. 24. Ada. Nak tengok ke? Sekejap. Korang nak tengok ke tak nak?
Nak.
Sekejap Okay, this is an example. Sekejap. Saya share ke screen? Tak share. Okay, now I'm sharing. Nampak tak? Test 1.
Nampak doktor.
So we will cover chapter 1 on to chapter 4. So previously, the test 1 is 20 marks for multiple choice. But for this SEM and for fast SEM, kita buat 10 marks tu lah because it's only 1 hour. So they're going to be 10 question lah for multiple choice, bukan 20. So this one is past years lah, past the questions. So the 20 marks. So it will be 10 marks for CQ. So ni contoh soalan. CQ. And then MCQ lah, multiple choice. We'll cover up until chapter 4. Okay. Next. Is your part 2. Question comprehensive. So question 1, normally I will give you this kind of question. Select whatever that you have in your select kan. Next, question number 2. Okay, give you code and then we get to calculate. So this is basically for Java class. And then I will give you the UI and then you write the JSP ataupun servlet. Because kita punya topik cover JSP and servlet kan. So this one saya bagi you the HTML and also the code itself, front end of the code. And then you need to write the JSP or servlet. For this one is program segment for the servlet. You need to write the servlet. Display these results. So no need for you to write the whole program of the servlet. You just need to write the program segment saja. Starting from this one. Display thank you for your order and etc. Dia pun bagi skeleton dia kan. So yang buat yang dalam ni je lah. Boleh?
Boleh doktor.
Yang lain? Okay. So this is how the question will be. Alright. Any other question? better. Okay, quick check. So this is quick check question for today. Please answer the quick check question. Who knows, maybe some of the quick check question might come up in your test as well. Yeah. So is that a practice for you? All right. Kalau tak ada apa-apa, I think that's all for today. Please answer it up until 11:59. No? And the question, the Google form will be closed automatically, yeah, when it reach. All right. Thank you, class.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Doctor.
Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.